Hi and welcome. My name is Rebecca Weaver. I'm going to be talking about adding and subtracting integers today. When adding and subtracting integers, we need to look at their signs. If they're both positive, add the numbers. The answer is always positive. If I'm adding two negative numbers, add the numbers, and the answer will be negative. It's kind of like the positive numbers are if you're saving money, and the negative numbers are like you're going in the hole. If you're going in the hole, you're going in the hole even further. When I'm adding a positive and a negative number, you'll subtract those numbers and take the sign of the larger. So examples of this. Let's look at the positive numbers 5 and 3. Add those together, we get 8, and it's also positive. We can look at -5 plus a -3 in two different ways. Notice in the second way, we've put parentheses around the -3 just to kind of alleviate that awkwardness of that plus minus that's written there. So we have -5 plus a -3 equals -8. And then we have -5 plus a -3 equals -8. They're both exactly the same thing. We just put parentheses around one just because it makes it look a little prettier. Lastly, if we have -5 plus 3, those two numbers have opposite signs. So I'm going to subtract those numbers. 2, take the sign of the larger. That would be a 5. So let's look at absolute value. Now what I have up here is a number line, and I want to know the absolute value of both 5 and -5. So my number line has 5 and -5 on it. And if I take the absolute value of -5, it is 5 units from 0. So that answer is 5. If I take the absolute value of +5, that answer is still 5 because they are still 5 units away from 0. The definition of absolute value is its distance from 0 on the number line. The absolute value of a number is written as the absolute value of n. We just use straight line down on either side to designate that. So we have a couple examples that we'll do for you. First up, we have the quantity 2 minus 7. We're going to subtract off the quantity 3 minus 8. Do what's inside parentheses first. 2 minus 7, that's going to be -5. Their signs are different, so I subtract, take the sign of the 7. 3 minus 8, that's also a -5. So this is what we have so far. Be very careful with these signs. Then I'm going to have -5 minus a -5, which ends up being a plus because a negative is a positive. And this little sucker is 0. How cool is that? For our next problem, I have 6 minus a -12. Hey, that's going to change there because that minus is going to be a plus. Then I'm going to add a -1. So let's watch my signs change. That negative is a plus. And then I'll do 6 plus 12, that's 18. And then I'll need to add that -1. The signs are different. I'll subtract, keeping the sign of the larger. Let's do a couple of absolute value problems. The absolute value of -3. He is a distance of 3 from 0. All done. The next one is a little trickier. I have to do what's inside first. I need to do 1 minus 5. 1 minus 5 is -4. The signs are different. I'll subtract, take the sign of the 5. So it would be -4. Now I need to take the absolute value of that -4. Disregard this guy until we get to the very end because he's kind of the same as multiplying by at the end. So I'm going to take the absolute value of -4. That's actually going to be 4. And then this negative on the outside makes it a -4. And that's all we have for today. And practice some and do your homework. And if you have any questions, be sure and email me, rweaver10@alaska.edu.